What's going on, guys? Declaring us live here for another version, a Monday version. Start your week off right with another version of the Slate. Going to be talking a bunch of sports, mainly golf, because I'm hosting, and also because joining me is our golf guy. He's now like the resident golf guy. Reed's gone. He doesn't appear on the show enough. Colin's the golf guy. Colin Sherwin joining me again. DK Live editor, DraftKings editor, and just all around sport nut. You know, you can find him at various Tampa Bay Lightning sporting events, usually traveling around a Starbucks sometimes, who knows, but yeah, for the next half hour or so, guys, 40 minutes, we're definitely going to be touching on the PGA Tour. We'll talk a little bit about what went down last week, obviously touch on the event this week. It's the FedEx Jude Championship, not the WGC FedEx Jude, not the FedEx St. Jude Classic, not the Northern Trust. It's the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Trust me, someone who's written like 2 golf articles already this week, that has messed with my brain enough. And then, yeah, who knows? We might even talk a little bit of NFL, but it'll be mostly golf. So come on in, sit up tight, and Colin's always giving good insights. And let's get this party started, man. How you doing, Colin? How was your week last week? Any bites? Were you big on Tom Kim, or was it just kind of come out of left field? Not really out of left field, but you know, the winning by a bunch of strokes. A little bit shocking.
So, to full disclosure, I did not have Tom Kim to win last week and end up earning his PGA Tour card and win by 5 shots after a quadruple bogey to open the tournament. I somehow that one got by me. Actually, I did not put a dime down last week for multiple reasons, but one of which is that I'm in a hotel now. You always see me in hotels, Jeff. It always seems like I'm on the road somewhere, but I'm actually like 3 miles from my house right now because my kitchen just caved in, like completely destroyed. Boom, gone kaplawi. So dealing with that did not allow me to also do my job and then get the action down that I really wanted to get down on the tournament. Turns out it looked out pretty good because I think Will Zalatoris would have been my choice, and he certainly did not hit the board for what I would have needed in last week's tournament. So, but for the grace of God and my upstairs neighbors leaking like straight into my house, I saved a few bucks that way. So yeah, I am here in yet another. I'm going to be here for at least another week. They're talking like 2.5 weeks to get this done. So I was in Vegas, Philly, and Montreal for 18 days. I slept in my own bed for 2 nights, and now I'm here for at least 12, 13 days total. So it's just been I've been home in forever.
And now the flood gods have said, no, you have not spent enough time away. We'll keep you away. But yeah, I if you weren't big on Tom Kim last week, and I liked him. Like I kind of came around to him finally last week, and not that I was negative on him, but I always want to see like just a little bit from these young players. And Tom Kim gaining that top 10 at Detroit and gaining his tour card was like really big for me. I was like, wow, okay, this guy has come to play. Like you're going to put that kind of pressure on him. He performed, he took advantage of the weaker field when he had to, but I didn't take it the step further and say, okay, now he's playing with house money at the Wyndham. And now you can just come in here and freewheel and just destroy the field. In retrospect, we have seen players get their first win at the Wyndham. Patrick Reed did it. Siwoo Kim did it. So maybe it shouldn't be overly shocking. But like you, I didn't put 2 and 2 together and back him. And I mean, look, Thursday morning, I thought he was done anyways. So what a crazy win. Really talented young player. We'll see how he backs that up next year. That's going to be one thing to watch. What about dabbling on? You got any opinions about dabbling on him in the futures market? I think you could probably get him at big odds for like the PGA or something. You going to do any of that, or?
I'm going to take a peek. Probably now would be the time to do it, because if he goes low again this week, you're going to start to see those markets really start to fall. Seems like his game kind of shapes not super great at Augusta. Perhaps he's more of like a US Open type of guy because of the way he rolls it. So maybe that would be the play, but I think at Augusta, that might be a challenge for him. And also, as we all know, since that is one of the only major where they play the same course every year, the guys that are in it consistently that have been back year after year tend to have an advantage. Not many guys get there their first time and walk away with a green jacket. So I would play him at some of the later majors perhaps, but I'd probably stay away from him at Augusta. And I haven't looked at the numbers on the futures yet. So I even got to factor in price here as well. But early instincts would be that.
Yeah. And again, good advice. I mean, I think if you're going to jump on him, you should do it this week because, he makes the BMW. If he's got a shot to make it the East, like he does that. I mean, those numbers are going to dip. So, and yeah, I would agree. Like, the experience factor, even Jordan Spieth needed one go around. I know he finished like runner up, but he needed one go around at Augusta for to get it done. So I think the PGA is a ripe setup for him potentially. I think it's Oak Hill, next
It is
year.
Oak
So
Hill. Yeah.
I think that'd be a good place.
Which is an impossible course. Like all of some semi-rotation major courses, Oak Hill is considered like one of the toughest to get a score. So something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's okay for a guy like Kim, who, is good naturally in a lot of different areas. So could be a place. That's probably where I would personally start looking. But let's flow that news into this week. You mentioned you might be on Will Zalatoris. You might have been on Will Zalatoris last week. Initial thoughts. Let's just go over the initial thoughts. We got the odds up here. Obviously, what are your initial thoughts on these odds? Who's sticking out to you? You going back to your guy Willie Z? I can't remember if you were or weren't. I'm sure you are, and I think a lot of people are. But you can start there. You can start with someone else. But initial thoughts on the odds and who you're looking at the top.
Yeah, Zalatoris, I think is, I had three guys highlighted on my board. It's closer to the top of the board, and Zalatoris was one of them. Ball striker, this course, TPC Southwind sort of takes a little bit of the driver away. The driving distance on this course is bottom 10th in terms of total driving distance of what you'll see on the PGA Tour on the regular. So it's going to take a little bit of the length out of some of the longer players. That's certain, Will can hit it, but he's not, a super bomber by any stretch. It's ball striker. And so his ability to play the irons and shape shots and be on the right side of greens is what will give him a chance this week. Of course, got to make some putts. This is always going to be the problem with Zalatoris. Until he makes some putts, it's not going to matter. He's just going to put you in great position, have that 7-footer, and then lip it out and just break your heart over and over again. Not that he's done this to me like multiple times at this point, but it's just sort of what he is. If he ever does figure it out with the putter, look out. Yeah, this guy is just as talented as anyone. Tony Finau, we've seen with Finau now winning his last two entries in the PGA Tour. Once these guys who have all of this prodigious talent put it together, they can just take off like a rocket. Scotty Scheffler earlier this season, hottest player on the planet, just finally took it all and put it all in that box and finally got it rolling. I think Zalatoris could be the next guy that does that and doesn't just win one, but wins multiple events, starts really and will be a factor in the majors next year as well. It's just sort of what it takes sometimes for these guys, especially the young ones. And I think we mentioned on this morning as well, new caddy for Zalatoris this week, called fired his guy mid-round, which is or mid-tournament, I should say, which is certainly something you don't see a lot on the PGA Tour. Said it's one of his best friends. It was just starting to become a bit of a toxic relationship. They were struggling. He hadn't played his best golf the last couple of events. So maybe a new guy on the bag will give him a fresh look. Sometimes you just need a different guy in your ear. And maybe that could be the difference for Will this week as well. So I don't think it can be anything but a positive from him. If you're firing a guy mid-tournament, it's clearly something toxic and you need to get that out.
It's a great piece. I actually forgot about that. I know I read about it this morning. We talked about it this morning, but I forgot about it. So glad you brought that up. I think it's good. Didn't we see someone win this year who did the exact same thing, fire their caddy and then come back and win? I swear we did. It's been a long season, Colin, but I'm trying to wrap my brain. So, but okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but good God, I'm pretty sure we had someone do the same thing. I can't remember off the top of my head, but okay, we'll have to come back to that. Maybe it was
for sure.
Was it Cameron Young? It might have been Cameron Young who switched caddies off like a 2-event miscut streak and then came back. He didn't win, obviously, but I don't know. I don't want it's something like that. I think we've seen the story before. Anyways, I like the narrative for sure. It's if he wasn't feeling comfortable out there and he switched caddies, that's good. That's what you should do. So and look, to the Will Zalatoris point, we're always going to bring up the putting with him, but I remind people, Justin Thomas in 2020 won this event and lost over a stroke putting. This is an event where you need to strike the ball well. It punishes people who don't because there's water everywhere. You see one of the most highest attrition rates for water balls. Zalatoris is a guy who's going to keep it on the greens, obviously, and not, in most cases, most weeks that he plays here, he won't be one of those people that are struggling with the water. So I don't hate it. My only argument against Zalatoris, and it's like you can still bet him. I think that's fine. I think it's absolutely fine. But I look down the board, or even just look up the board a little bit, and I see my guy John Rahm, and maybe it's not like the ideal setup, like a West Coast POA kind of thing, but he did contend here in 2020 or 2019 with Brooks Koepka for a little bit, and I just see when I see John Rahm and plus 2,000. It's just too big. Like I have to bet him. And then going down the board, I see comparable players to Zalatoris, Burns, Hovland, even Sungjae Im. You can make a case with Hideki. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Zalatoris yet. I'm definitely going to be in on Rahm. I'm definitely going to be in on Hovland. I could still bet. I could potentially add him to as a third, but I think there's more likelihood I'll probably add another guy that's bigger than him in the odds. It's the only thing. Other than that, it's fine. It's a fine setup. He's going to take a lot of the water out of the play. He's going to give you a chance, much like Thomas had a chance. Thomas gave you a chance when he won, much like Hideki last year when he got to the playoff and just needed one putt to win. And I think Zalatoris could do the same thing.
So I'm looking at Rahm right now in terms of strokes gained, 2.1 with driving distance. I don't think he gets enough credit for his accuracy, though. He keeps the ball, as long as he is, he keeps the ball straight. 0.8 in accuracy as well. And let's face it, I mean, the guy can smash an iron, 1.7 strokes gained on approach. Obviously putting, 0.9, which is good, but not great. But Rahm's all-around game is, I think, a little more solid than he gets credit for sometimes. So I think you might be onto something here where we got to take a look. Current form, though, certainly not playing his best right now. And that does give me a little bit of pause. He has not, played his best golf. I mean, there was clearly, at the end of last year, he was clearly the number one player in the world, and it wasn't close. Once Scheffler took that over, Rahm has started to slide back. Sixth in the OWGR right now. I think he's probably in the top 5 players in the world right now, at least in terms of form and how they're playing. So I think that's fair. But, again, and you're getting 20-1 against a really tough field. So that's a good price. But I'm just not sure, it just doesn't, I don't have the right feel for this right now. McIlroy at 900, I think it's just to stay away. That's too short. I don't care who you are. You could be, there's no player that should be plus 900 in this field as deep as it is right now. And I just don't know, if Rahm was 30-1, sure. But I just think at 20, it might be just a little too thin against this field.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a little bit of a leap of faith, which sounds weird with John Rahm, but like, you're basically saying like, he's like one, like just figuring the putter out away from a big week. And that's kind of what I feel though. That's kind of what I felt with him most weeks this year. Like it's not that far off. He was in contention at the US Open. I think that there's definitely been a part of that game missing, and it's mostly been like around the green and putting. Like that's mostly what's been troubling him. But I do feel like when that clicks, he'll be fine. Like you mentioned, the off the tee stuff is he's just insanely consistent. It's almost just like sickening consistency. And he can just fire it up with the rest of the game. So I think I've seen this from John Rahm before. This is a bit of recency bias because it really reminds me of him coming into the Memorial in 2020. Not recency bias, it's a bit of just personal bias because I profited off him there when he got to this number. And I just see it's just like a similar setup. So I'm probably going to, like I said, I'm taking advantage of it. But, will I be overly shocked if he just, puts in another T30 and doesn't putt? No, because that's what he's been doing. But either way, that's, two guys in Zalatoris and Rahm, who I think you can consider both. They're both kind of at opposite ends. Zalatoris has been uber consistent, getting himself in contention. Rahm is just a talent that I think has fallen too far down in the odds not to bet. So I think we're both kind of the opinion for betting. We're probably not touching anyone under 2,000 this week with both our two guys. We already like a plus 2,000. Is there anyone you would? Can we make? Yeah, go for it.
Can we make the case for Sungjae Im? Can we make that case?
I think so. I mean, why not? I mean, like Bermuda track, winner at the Honda, another course, ton of water, small greens. Like this is a Sungjae track. I mean,
yeah, for sure. This is obviously the step up in field. We see as we talked about Tony Finau, played great 1-2 events, but wasn't exactly dusting the top 10 players in the world out there either. That's going to be the same thing. Sungjae's competed really well. He's certainly in form, but he hasn't exactly been going against the best fields yet either. So how do you weight the field against what you've seen from him in terms of his play? I'm going to dig a little bit deeper on him and Hovland as well. I and if you're not looking at Sam Burns every week, you're probably doing golf wrong. Like, no matter what, his game, I mean, just on raw ability.
Yeah.
And something else that I think we need to start looking at in golf, just generally, is that, like, these guys are so good at this point. Just the top of the board, the top 20 guys in any tournament would have won basically any tournament 7, 8, 10 years ago. Like, if you finished T20 right now, you're probably winning that same event.
Yeah.
It's just that these guys have gotten so good. You have to go absolutely berserk to win a tournament now, which is what Tom Kim did, going out in 27 on Sunday,
gaining 12 strokes putting. Like, it's just,
I mean, you have to be absurd. So you're almost trying to handicap the guy who is just going to run borderline unconscious. Like, and who are those guys that can have those huge peaks? John Rahm would certainly be one of those guys who can have one of those huge peaks. Rory McIlroy is a guy who can certainly have one of those huge peaks. You're almost sort of just hunting for the guy that's just going to go completely blackout insane. And
I think Burns and Hovland at this price are two guys who can do that. We've seen Hovland, admittedly, it's weaker fields mostly, and Burns a little bit the same, but like, Burns can go out and legitimately gain you 10 strokes putting and gain on approach. And he's big off the tee. And if he just stays out of the water a little bit, he'll be like, he can go crazy. So, and I think Hovland, very, very similar. Maybe not quite as an elite putter, obviously, but still, like, he's proven that he can absolutely put it together. I like these guys. That's why I look at these prices and it's just like, yes, like these are the type of dudes we should be targeting. So yeah, I'm with you on Burns. Like you said, you need to consider this guy every week. He shouldn't be, again, like, I like Zalatoris, Cameron Young even, but like, Burns should not be bigger to win. Maybe you want to make an argument those guys are like better long-term players. Sure. He shouldn't be bigger to win an event right now. So Burns as a putter is gaining 2.2 per round, and he's got 1.3 on approach. Now, clearly on driving accuracy, and he's going to put a ball in the water this week. Like, you can still win the tournament even if he puts a ball in the water. Look at Tom Kim.
For sure. Like, opens with quad, still wins by 5. So it's doable. Sam Burns is definitely the kind of guy who can just go blackout and can do it. And if he catches the speeds of these greens, he's the guy who could gain 12 strokes on putting in a tournament for sure. So something to be considered. You might be making that bet and then seeing, you wake up, Thursday afternoon and you check your numbers and all of a sudden you go, oh God, well, the guy I just bet is, plus is 3 over on a par 70 where everybody else, and you might not make the cut. That's okay. That doesn't mean you make a bad bet. No. That means he just couldn't put it together for that 18 holes and you're not going to win. But when he does at that price, I think he's definitely got the talent. He's going to do it more than 1 in 35 times. Yeah. Much more likely to shoot a 76 on Thursday than like a Zalatoris or even probably a Cam Young, but I think more likely to win potentially even, or as likely with bigger odds. So, okay, let's dive deeper down for the folks. Let's try and pick out some long shots. We have had like the winner of this event, this first playoff event, Dustin's won it twice the last 5 years. He was going off like 18, 14 to 1, but like Finau 50 to 1, Bryson 66 to 1. Patrick Reed in I think it was 19, 50 to 1. Is this the one where he cheated? I forget. Is this the one where he got caught cheating? No, I think that was Torrey Pines when he won the Farmers. You're right. Yeah. Well, which time? Actually, oh no. Yeah. Okay. There's 2 times. Torrey Pines, and then it was the Hero, the one where it was the sand trap. Right. That was the big one. That was the one where everyone was like, "Oh, Patrick Reed actually cheats like on a consistent basis. Let's go look at his game tape." Like, people are just finding things like, "Oh yeah, he was in a bunker here." It's like, wow, okay. Anyway, I mean, we make these jokes, and now these players are recorded, but like let's just say that VJ Lee Trevino, like if they were in the social media era, there have definitely been some guys that we could go back and question. Gary Player. Yeah. I mean, there's some questions to be asked of a former player. I'm not saying, I'm not accusing, I'm just saying we would be looking at the tapes. Yeah. People have gone back and like looked at some, I think it was Gary Player tapes someone under or something, but I don't know. That's a whole other podcast we could do. Players cheating in the 1960s in golf. Anyways, like, again, this plus 5,000 range, I mean, it's not big this week, but
there's some names here. I mean, we got our guy Henley, led the field and strokes gain approach last week again. I harken back 2020. Justin Thomas led the field and strokes gain approach at this event. Tee to green at this event and lost strokes putting. That's a good recipe for Henley win, because that's basically what he needs to do. He's not going to. I've come to the conclusion there's never going to be a hot putting week for Russell Henley again, but he can definitely go nuts with the irons. Plus 5,000. He's my guy. I'm probably going to have a piece. You made fun of me for Aaron Wise earlier this morning, probably rightfully so. So I would rather bet Henley of those two. Yeah, that's right. Oh wow, now you're breaking out the hundreds.
You know what? Honestly,
who's on the 100? Is it John A. McDonald still? Is it John A?
I believe it is. And
they may have changed some of the faces.
My lighting here, so it's also a lady with a not a telescope, but with a microscope. Yeah. No, I haven't even had a chance since I left Montreal to get to a bank because I'm homeless again. So this is. But the good thing about your Canadian money is you can just burn it right here and just watch the flame go right up, which is what you'll be doing if you bet on Aaron Wise this week. You want to put him in the top 10? Maybe that's generous, but all
right, I'll burn my money on Henley. I feel like looking at this range though, the guy we should really have interest in is probably Max Homa.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's the thing with Homa. So I took a look at him this morning just in terms of matchup for the course, and it's not the super ideal setup for him. But he's certainly playing much better. His form as the year has gone along, he's gotten better and better. It seems like he's playing with more confidence. He's going to take some shots. His approach game is strong, but he doesn't putt it well enough to make up for some of the deficiencies. He's not super long. I don't know if he can string it all together, but he's certainly, I think, a player that's playing much, much better golf and seems to be improving every week. So can he do it against the best players in the world on a track that may not be 100% favorable for his game? I'm not sure. Yeah. But the price is great at plus 50. So at 50 to 1, I kind of like it.
I would almost I almost never bet.
You're feeling top 10 here.
What's that?
You feeling top 10 on Homa? You feel like a top 10 at 4 to 1.
Yeah, I don't want to bet him to win. I think if I was going to bet Homa, because I do agree, it's a pretty good price. Again, Homa at plus 5,000. I mean, it does feel like he should be more in line with the Billy Hoes and the Lowrys of the world right now than the Henleys and stuff like that. So I think top 10 is probably a good bet. I think that's solid. I think you're getting a good price. I think to win, I'd almost rather bet Tyrrell Hatton, because he is a player who can get. He's a better putter, I think. Can he keep it together on a course with this much water? That is a scary proposition, but I don't know. I might just lay some money on Henley at this range and just call it a day. I don't. Neiman I haven't seen for a while. I don't really love this range. I'm not gonna lie. Wise, Power, Connors hasn't been doing much, so I don't know. This is a range where I might get a little bit of Henley exposure, and that's it.
So the thing with Hatton is that on a course with a lot of water, he is not somebody who keeps the ball very straight at all, and so that could be a little bit of a challenge. If you tell me he's not going to hit the water all week, I'm definitely betting Tyrrell Hatton. But the problem is that can he keep it in the short stuff enough this week to give himself a chance? Again, this course does not set up well for guys who are not straight. This is not some wide open, Phoenix type of layout where you can just sort of hit bombs. You're going to get penalized if you hit it if you hit it somewhere off, and so that might be where Hatton struggles. But at short game and putter, I mean, as good as anyone in the field. So
he's very good with his irons last week, but you're onto something with the off the tee. He hasn't gained over a stroke off the tee since May. He does lose off the stroke of points. It's concerning. Let's put it that way.
Concerning.
He's got the upside with the putter and the irons to win. But best finish here, T17 last year. Again, lost strokes off the tee. Was good on approach. It was neutral putting. So I mean, again, if the putter eats up, I don't hate it. I really don't. I don't know. That's a guy I'm gonna have to decide about. Yeah, I mean, I wish it was plus 6,000. Then it would probably be maybe more of a bet. But okay. Well, let's dive into these long shots, man. I mean, let's go nitty gritty here.
You know what, Keegan Bradley,
Right.
I completely admit to my total markdom for Keegan Bradley. I think, watching him fall apart with a 2-shot lead on Sunday this year didn't help the cause very much at all. But the game is there. This guy can strike the ball as well as anyone. He's not super scary long, and he does struggle on the green sometimes. But man,
Yeah.
with any kind of iron or wedge in his hand, he's one of the best players out there. But can he keep it consistent long enough to do it? So to win this thing, no, that ain't happening. But a top 5 play, a top 10 play for Bradley, I like him at plus 700. I think there's value there. He's definitely a guy, if he keeps it straight, you're going to look up on Sunday and be like, oh, look, Keegan Bradley's T5 on Sunday. And all I got to do is keep it straight. I'm going to cash it 7-1. Totally and completely possible. That seems to be where his game is right now. Bradley, hold on. Let me pull this up. This is pretty bad television, but yes, his approach game is one of the best on tour. He does hit it reasonably straight, and he's got some length to him. Again, he's got to make some putts. That's the thing with Keegan Bradley. There's, he's sort of like an older Zalatoris with maybe not as much talent. He's going to hit irons, and he's going to be on greens. And then can he make putts? And that has cost him millions of dollars and millions of exemptions and millions in his career, not being able to roll the ball when he needs to. But if he can string it together, he can definitely post a score. And you're going to need to go low this week. I mean, look, 16 under 1 last year. You're probably going to need 17, 18, even with the slightly longer course this year, depending on weather conditions. That means you got to shoot 65s and 66s. That's each day. You can't have the blow up day either. If you have the blow up day, then you need a 63 or a 62.
Yeah.
I think Bradley's the kind of guy who can string together like 4 rounds between 64 and 68, though, and give you a chance.
I mean, I don't hate the top 10 call at all. The poor man, older Will Zalatoris. It's the Will Zalatoris truthers are just out there like, oh my God, don't say that. But I mean, look, Keegan has a major championship, right? Like he's got like what, 5 wins? He might have more than that. Like he's got quite a few wins in his pocket. He's not a bad PGA player. Obviously, if you're a big into Will Zalatoris, you probably would like a little bit better upside, but like, yeah, it's actually a pretty good comparable. Probably not as talented as Will Zalatoris, definitely. I think that's probably fair too, but it's not that far off. So yeah, I think that getting like the poor man's Will Zalatoris at plus 1,000 or 10,000 isn't a terrible idea. Plus 700. He's cooled off a bit, but you're right. Like he even talked about his game, how confident he was in his game earlier in the season. So I'm kind of expecting a bounce back from Keegan this week. I think it's a really good setup for him too. He's not only is he long off the tee, but he'll keep it in the fairway. Like he's not wild. He's not like Sam Burns. Like he knows how to keep it in the fairway. He almost wanted the Travelers, another good comparable. I do like him this week. Probably not going to bet him outright or anything, but I'll find some exposure to him somehow. The top 20, maybe. He might even be a guy to look for in a top 20, top 40 bet. Again, I think it's a good setup. I actually think the top 40 as like a ladder play, like top 40, top 20, top 10 is a really good guy to target. I'll stand for my guy, Chris Kirk, in this range too. He's got a little bit of Abraham Answer vibes from last year. I think he's just doing kind of everything well right now. He's really consistent off the tee right now too. You look at Chris Kirk, a guy who's hitting fairways and has found some length. There's almost no one better. Like he's like a poor man's John Rahm off the tee. He finds way more fairways than you think. And he's found distance. He's averaging like 305 off the tee this year, which is still good.
That's plenty. That's plenty on this track too.
Exactly. And on this track, it's plenty. Exactly. So was in contention at some tougher tracks in Florida earlier. I'll take Chris Kirk. That's probably the one guy I'll bet from like the plus 10,000 range. I mean, I could always get sucked into these, I was going to say these losers, but these guys like Alex Noren, they're always my kryptonite. But Chris Kirk is one guy I actually feel confident. I just feel like he's just playing well enough to win right now. So that'll be my guy I outright. And but I like the Keegan call. I really do. I think I know I know the recent form is kind of a couple miscuts in there, but one of those was the Open. I feel more confident trusting Keegan than Adam Scott, who is absolutely just wild off the tee. And you talk about a guy who's going to put one in the water this week. I guarantee you, Adam Scott is putting a ball off the tee in the water this week. I don't know when Adam Scott lost the consistency off the tee because he used to just be a beast when he was younger, but he has lost it. He's still long and he's still got the beautiful swing, but he's very inconsistent. So Give me Kirk. Give
can
me
we
Keegan
make
from this range as like the consistent guys.
Can we make an argument for JT Poston as well?
Sure.
One of the best putters out there. Doesn't have a lot of length. The driver's always going to be an issue with him. Like, he's just not that kind of player. But man, he can roll it, and it seems like he is playing in better form and has posted some numbers. He's a guy that either like top 5 or missed cut. You know what I mean? There's not, and those are the kind of guys, if you're going to try and target somebody who could go low in a hurry, he would be that kind of player. Maybe he's not even somebody that you would ladder in the 20 to 40 range. You'd almost rather be like top 10, a tiny sprinkle on the outright at 130, and then just sort of like fade everything else. Stay away. Either he's going to do it or he's not, and there's not a lot of middle ground there. So maybe he's a guy that you could look at as well. But yeah, if he gets hot with putter, there's the guy who can save 10, 11 shots in a weekend with his putter for sure.
And if Poston can just keep it in the fairway off the tee, this course it sets up perfectly for him. He's been super consistent with his irons. He can attack he can be aggressive. And then, we've seen players. I mean, Answer gained like 3 strokes putting here last year. He's kind of the all-around effort. So yeah, Poston has found like that level of consistency. I think for like a DFS play, I think people might shy away from him a little bit this week because it's like, oh, well, now it's an elite field. Like, we can't play JT Poston. I think that's probably wrong. I mentioned guys like, Norin and Hadwin down there. Poston is playing lights way better than these guys. He deserves to be up here. I could definitely get behind it. It's still a good track for JT Poston this week. All these, tracks with water, you've got to bring some level of consistency. But Poston has shown that he can more than keep it together on these tracks. So, absolutely. I don't know. Going down here, your guy Mito's there.
We're going Mito.
Playing the Mito bounce back is fine with me. I mean,
I'm just going to bet Mito until he's my Finau. Like he's what Reed is to Tony Finau is what I am to Mito. And he broke my heart in the worst beat I've ever taken on a golf thing, and I still love him. I mean, he can play. So funny story about Mito. I went to the University of South Florida. Right. Who Mito Pereira was committed to the University of South Florida to play golf. He took the TOEFL score, which is what is required for people that that are using English as their second language. USF was the only school in the state of Florida, public, private, anywhere, that required a TOEFL. Mito chose not to take the TOEFL. Decommitted from South Florida, ends up at Texas Tech. Sort of a bridge moment in the history of the program, a program that's won 5 conference championships the last 7 years. But like that guy, so I've sort of followed him because of that. Right. And he is, the talent is there, man. And and for our head coach, it was a heartbreaking moment to lose him. That's for sure. So this guy can really, really play, and the complete and the total talent game is there. This is a guy, our coach has worked with some of the best players in the world, and he says Mito is like one of these guys who can absolutely be a guy who can win multiple majors. So the talent's there.
I mean, he's responsible for one of my best golf betting moments of the last 3 or 4 years. But when I hit him on his first win on the Corn Ferry Tour, and I think he made eagle on the last to win. So that was fun right before the pandemic hit. But yeah, his first pro win. So he can absolutely get it done. I think that just with the number where he is, I mean, Cam Davis is there. I don't trust Cam Davis on a course with this much water necessarily. Maybe as a DFS play because he'll make like 3 birdies after his quad. But Siwoo, Webb not playing well enough. None of these other guys have the talent. If you're betting anyone in this range, I 100% agree. You take a shot with Mito Pereira. He's been off for a bit. I'm not sure why, but sometimes rest does people good. So Taylor Moore's played okay. One other guy actually. Again, we're talking ball striking. We're talking straight up guys who can just lace it and are really consistent off the tee. Emiliano Grillo is 6th in strokes gained off the tee over the last 24 rounds. I think he's gained like 3 strokes off the tee in his last 3 starts. He's lacing it right now. Wow. And he's another guy who can get in a real flow with the ball striking. In terms of volatility, you won't find anyone more volatile than Grillo. He hits in the water once, we're done, because he'll chuck his waters in there and walk off or something. But you want a big outright plus 15,000. He's been runner up in 2 of his last 3 events. I know they're weaker fields, but I think Grillo is a guy I'll stand for here for sure. I'll always stand for Grillo because he's hilarious. But yeah, that's another dude, much like Mito. I think the talent is there to pull off something crazy. And if you're looking for a long shot here, you need guys who can just are at that level. And right now Grillo is playing at probably one of the highest levels of his career. So that's it. That's pretty much all I got. I'm not going any deeper than that, especially for outrights.
No.
You know, you could look at other guys for top 40s, I guess. Matthew Neesmith is down there. He's a guy who's pretty consistent ball striker, maybe for like a top 40 or something. Trey Mullinex, the guy I've been bringing up lately, very underrated player. Would not be shocked if he wins again, but not this week. But again, you know, maybe for like a top 20, top 40 play, Trey Mullinex could have interest. But definitely no outrights past kind of our threshold there. So anyways.
So something to keep in mind this week too when you're handicapping that I think so there are right now 122 players in the field, which is less than your average PGA Tour event of 156 or 144. So you're going against less competition this week. I mean, it's going to matter if you're betting top 20s and top 40s. So keep that in mind, that even if you're getting like what would be the same price for like a good PGA Tour event, a Scottish Open, a Canadian Open, like some of these higher end events, a Genesis, an Arnold Palmer. If you're getting that same price on top 10, top 20, top 40, you probably got a little bit of a better shot here than you would in a normal week as well. So keep that in mind when handicapping.
Yep. And excellent reminder for those placing bets. And, obviously you're dealing with a more elite field. So again, I like keeping the outright bets tighter this week, not going past. I'm not even sure how many guys, like I mentioned Kirk. That might be the only guy I really go past like plus 5,000 on.
Yeah.
And then just, I think it's a good week to really focus on placing bets. Absolutely. So, any last thoughts?
Where do you got Taylor Gooch anywhere? Where you got Taylor Gooch for this week? Is he on the board anywhere?
Who are the 3? Remind me again. Who are the 3 guys trying to get in this event? I can't even remember. Swafford's one of them, right?
Yeah, Taylor Gooch, Matt Jones, Hudson Swafford. So Gooch was 20th in points, despite the fact that he didn't get to play a lot of the events down the stretch. So if you could find a place to bet Gooch right now, you're betting on a judge in San Jose, California, granting a TRO tomorrow, and then you're going to get a price. So I'm just saying, like, if you can find some book somewhere that's going to let you smash it. Unfortunately, our friends at DraftKings are not going to let players that are not currently in the field let you bet on those. But if you know something about the honorable, let me pull up her name, Beth Laibson Freeman. Judge, if you can handicap Judge Beth Laibson Freeman, they'll give you a better sense of like whether these guys are going to be able to play on Thursday in Memphis. Also, how did this, like, the PGA Tour is based in Ponte Vedra Beach, the tournament's in Memphis. Why are they in court in San Jose, California? I couldn't quite figure that part out. But I read all the stuff this morning, all the court case going back and forth. Let's just say the PGA Tour did not hold back in their assessment of the Live Tour. It was, shall we say, aggressive. And we'll see what happens in court. I'm not a lawyer, but it's been interesting to watch. And coincidentally, 3 players who would be in the field are not playing this week. Tommy Fleetwood decided to step aside for personal reasons. And who are the other 2? I'm going to pull them up here.
Berger and I think it's Lanto Griffin.
It is. It's Berger and Griffin. So they're not going to play, even though they're eligible. They're not going to be replaced in the field. So that's how they do it. You're either in the top 125. There's no alternates. There's nothing. There's no Monday qualifying. There's none of that stuff. So right now it's at 122. If these guys get the TRO, granted, it'll be 125. So that's just coincidence that kind of matches up. But as of right now, they're going to go 122 players, and we'll see if Taylor. And honestly, to be fair, if Taylor Gooch gets in the field, you got to look at it, because he can play. If you're 20th and you missed several tournaments during the season, and you're already 20th in the FedEx Cup points, and you've played well on Live, somebody got to take a look at it.
I mean, we just saw a guy come in and win his way in to the FedEx Cup playoffs. Yeah. What a way to follow it up than to see a guy who had to league his way in through a judge to win, to keep his hopes alive. Anyways, that's gonna be fascinating to watch if those 3 guys actually get in the event. Decision I think is today or tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific is the hearing, and then the judge will assess, I guess, either in court or give a written decision shortly after, because they don't have a lot of time with the events on Thursday.
No kidding. So, okay. Anyways, watch out for that. Follow him at Colin Sherwin, correct? On Twitter?
Yes, at COLLIN. And yeah, we're getting into college football season here. That is my,
that's right, yeah.
I am technically the college sports editor at DK Nation. I get golf as soon as, because they're like, oh, Final Four is over. Oh, now you can have golf because the Masters is the following week. So I have sort of been doing, working on college football season. Alabama's going to be unbelievable this year. I don't see Alabama loses a game. I don't know if anybody comes within double digits of Alabama all season, they're going to be ridiculous. But get down the board. I put out a big piece on Friday about why Kansas at over 2.5 wins is the best win total bet in college football this year. You see a team that Kansas always sucks, right? Not this season. They bring back a lot of players. They bring back the 7th most players out of 131 teams in college football. They got one of the best coaches in the country. Kansas over 2.5 wins is the lock of the century for college football futures betting. And I'm also going to put out a piece today as why you should just bet USC versus Utah in the Pac-12 championship game and fade everything else because nobody else has a chance.
Okay. I'm going to bet Kansas right now. You can follow me at the Fantasy Grind I think the PGA cheat sheet for this week is already out. I'll tweet it out soon, but thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. We'll have the slate same time tomorrow around 5 p.m. Eastern. Tune into the Sweat on DK Live and Twitter feed. It's at 11 a.m. Eastern. But right now we got sim action. Eagles at the Commanders. Up next. We'll talk to you guys soon.